What if I told you that the single biggest mistake men make in relationships isn't what you think it is? It's not being too nice. It's not saying the wrong things. It's not even showing too much interest. The real mistake, the one that quietly destroys your value without you even realizing it, is this: you keep giving your energy to a woman who never gives it back. You keep chasing someone who never initiates. You keep holding on to silence, hoping it will eventually turn into effort. And here's the shocking truth. Every time you do that, you are teaching her how little she needs to do to keep you. You are showing her that you will accept crumbs, that you will wait by the phone, that you will settle for being an afterthought. But I'm going to flip this on its head right now, because what you've been told about relationships, about effort, about being consistent, has been wrong all along. The silence you keep ignoring, that's not just absence. That's the loudest message you'll ever get. And once you learn to hear it, once you learn to respond to it correctly, everything changes. You stop chasing, you stop begging, you stop shrinking yourself for someone else's attention. Instead, you shift the entire dynamic by pulling back, by reclaiming your worth, by redirecting all that wasted energy into yourself. Stay with me until the end of this video, because I'm going to break down exactly why she never texts you first, what it really means about how she sees you, and the one decisive action you must take to turn the entire game around. If you've ever wondered why you feel unseen, undervalued, or stuck in one-sided relationships, this will be the moment it all finally makes sense. If she never texts you first, I need you to understand something crucial: silence is not empty. Too many men make the mistake of dismissing silence as nothing, as if it carries no meaning, as if it's just laziness or forgetfulness. But that's not how human psychology works. Silence is loaded. It is communication. When someone consistently chooses not to initiate contact, it is not because they forgot. It is because they made a choice. And that choice reveals everything about how they perceive you and how they prioritize you in their life. Now, here's where it gets uncomfortable, because most men don't want to face this truth. They'd rather believe in excuses. They'd rather tell themselves she's busy, she's shy, or she just doesn't like texting. But let's be brutally honest. Nobody is too busy to reach out to someone they truly value. Nobody forgets to check on someone they are genuinely interested in. When she never texts first, she is sending a loud message. You are not a priority. You are an option. I will take your effort as long as you give it, but I will never fight to keep it. And what happens? You start carrying the entire relationship on your shoulders. You're the one initiating, you're the one pouring energy, you're the one investing. You convince yourself that as long as she responds, it's fine. But here's the problem. Response is not pursuit. Response is not effort. If she only replies when you reach out, it means she's allowing you to do all the work while she sits back and reaps the benefits. That is not attraction. That is convenience. Think about it. Real attraction is active. When someone truly wants you, they cannot help but move towards you. They reach out, they check on you, they create opportunities to interact. They don't sit back and wait for you to serve yourself on a platter every single time. So her silence is not just about texting. It's about a lack of emotional investment. It's about a lack of desire to bridge the distance between you. And here is the psychological depth of it. Silence creates an imbalance of power. The person who invests more, who reaches out more, who chases more, automatically lowers their value in the dynamic. The one who withholds, who stays silent, who gives nothing, starts to look like the prize, simply because they are not making themselves readily available. You think you're winning her by chasing, but you're actually teaching her that she doesn't need to do anything to keep you. She doesn't need to show effort, because you've shown her you'll accept crumbs. That's why silence is dangerous, because it tricks you into overcompensating. And the more you overcompensate, the less she respects you. And the less she respects you, the more she withdraws. It's a cycle that drains you and empowers her. So let me give it to you straight: when she never texts you first, she is showing you her hand. She's showing you where you stand. And you must have the courage to see it for what it is. If you ignore this reality, you set yourself up for a relationship built on imbalance, where you give and she takes, where you pursue and she entertains, where you hope and she settles. But here's the empowering side of this truth. Once you recognize silence as communication, you stop being confused. You stop making excuses. You stop asking, "Why won't she text me?" Because you already have your answer. And when you have the answer, you gain control. You can choose differently. You can match her energy. You can reclaim your worth. You are not meant to be the background noise in someone's life. You are not meant to beg for effort. You are not meant to accept silence where there should be presence. And the moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop giving to someone who refuses to give back, you create space for someone who actually values you, who chooses you, who shows up without being asked. Her silence is not the absence of words, it is the presence of truth. And the question is, are you brave enough to hear it? Because if you are, then you'll realize something: life-changing. A man who respects himself does not chase silence. He listens to it, he learns from it, and he walks away with his dignity intact. So the next time she never texts you first, don't just see it as nothing, see it as the message it really is. And respond not with more words, but with your actions. Withdraw your energy, redirect your focus, and remind yourself that you were never meant to compete for attention. Silence always speaks. The question is, are you willing to listen? When you find yourself in a situation where she never initiates contact, the natural instinct for many men is to try harder, to fill the silence with even more effort. You tell yourself that maybe if you just text her more often, maybe if you show her how much you care, maybe if you remain consistent, eventually she will come around. But that instinct, as noble as it feels, is exactly what destroys your value in her eyes. The more you chase, the more you diminish yourself. The more you overextend, the more you teach her that she does not need to give you anything back. And here's the uncomfortable truth: desire doesn't live where one person is constantly overcompensating. It dies there. Think of human attraction like a dance. Both partners have to move toward each other, step into the rhythm, meet halfway. If you are the only one dancing while she stands still, it isn't a relationship, it's a performance. And in that performance, you become the entertainer, the one who puts in all the effort, while she sits back as the audience, deciding whether to clap or not. That is not connection. That is imbalance. Psychologically, the moment you chase silence, you enter a frame where she becomes the authority and you become the applicant. You place yourself in a position of proving your worth, trying to win approval, trying to be chosen. And the more you prove, the less she values. Because true value does not need to scream for attention. It commands it. When you beg for someone's time, you are essentially telling them your time is worth less than theirs. And that is how power shifts in relationships, not because one person is inherently better, but because one person is giving away all of their leverage. That is why the principle of matching energy is so powerful. Matching energy is not about games, it's not about punishment, and it's not about manipulation. It is about balance. It is about self-respect. If she invests nothing, you do not fill the gap with everything. If she gives 10%, you don't give 90 to make up the difference. You meet her at her level. You stop rewarding minimal effort with maximum attention. You show her through your actions that your energy is valuable, and you will not continue pouring it into someone who refuses to meet you halfway. And here's what happens when you do this. One of two outcomes will surface very quickly, and both of them serve you. If she was never truly interested, she will fade. She will not fight to keep you because she was never planning to. And that clarity, while it may sting, is a blessing. It frees you from wasting more time. On the other hand, if she did value you but had grown comfortable in the security of your endless pursuit, your withdrawal will force her to realize that she must contribute or risk losing you. In that moment, the balance resets. She begins to invest because she sees that you will not carry the relationship alone. This is where psychology and philosophy meet. Because at its core, this isn't just about relationships, it's about the universal law of reciprocity. Human beings respect what they have to earn. We dismiss what is handed to us too easily. By chasing endlessly, you rob her of the chance to value you. But when you step back, when you match her effort instead of overcompensating for it, you create the space for her to choose. And choice is what makes desire real. Men often ask, but won't she forget me if I stop reaching out? And I say, if her memory of you depends solely on your constant pursuit, then she was never emotionally invested to begin with. You don't want someone who remembers you only when you remind them. You want someone who cannot forget you because your presence has meaning in their life. This is why matching energy is not weakness, it is strength. It is the strength of restraint, the strength of dignity, the strength of knowing your worth. It's easy to chase. It's harder to step back and trust that if someone values you, they will show it. It's easy to beg for attention. It's harder to sit in silence and see the truth revealed. So let me leave you with this: every time you overgive where you are underappreciated, you teach the other person how little they need to do to keep you. But every time you match energy, you send a different message. You teach them that your presence is earned, not owed. And in that moment, you reclaim your power, your balance, and your dignity. Remember this: real love does not need chasing, it needs choosing. And if she never chooses you, then chasing her only ensures you lose yourself. When a woman never reaches out first, the biggest mistake a man can make is to keep funneling his time and emotional energy into her world, waiting for validation that will never come. Because whether you realize it or not, every text you send without her initiating, every effort you make without reciprocity, is a form of self-abandonment. You are trading your self-worth for the illusion of her interest. And here's the truth most men do not want to hear. When you do that, you are not just losing her respect, you are losing your own. This is where the real shift needs to happen. Instead of chasing someone who does not invest in you, you must redirect that energy back to yourself. Ask yourself, why am I so desperate for attention from someone who does not choose me? Why am I willing to accept the bare minimum when I know deep down that I deserve effort, consistency, and presence? This self-reflection is painful, but it is also liberating, because the answer is not in getting her to finally text you first. The answer is in realizing that your worth was never dependent on her text at all. When you stop making her your focus, everything changes. Suddenly, the time you used to spend waiting for a notification can be spent on your growth, your mission, your passion. The mental energy you wasted analyzing her silence can be redirected into building something real for yourself. Your career, your fitness, your friendships, your dreams. And the beauty of this is that the more you invest in yourself, the less you tolerate half-hearted investment from others. The stronger you become, the less acceptable it feels to settle for someone who cannot even send you a simple message without being prompted. Psychologically, this shift is transformative because it changes the power dynamic. As long as you are chasing her, she is in control. She dictates when, how, and if the interaction happens. But when you pull back and invest in yourself, the control returns to you. You no longer orbit around her indifference. You create your own gravity, and people who truly value you are drawn into that orbit naturally. The ones who don't, they fall away, and that is exactly how it should be. And here's what many men overlook. Women are drawn to men who are anchored in their own purpose. A man who is too available, too eager, too desperate to be chosen becomes predictable and dull. But a man who invests in himself radiates strength, discipline, and self-respect. He is not waiting for validation. He creates his own. And that is magnetic. It is not about playing games. It is about building a life so rich, so purposeful that no one person's silence can disrupt your confidence. This is why the advice of redirecting energy is not just practical, it is philosophical, because it forces you to confront what love and respect really mean. Love without reciprocity is not love, it's dependency. Effort without balance is not romance, it's self-erasure. And if you keep pouring into someone who does not pour back, you are not loving them, you are abandoning yourself. So instead of asking, "Why won't she text me first?" start asking, "Why am I tolerating this pattern? What does it say about how I value myself?" The moment you shift that focus, you stop seeing her silence as rejection and start seeing it as redirection. Redirection towards yourself, towards people who actually appreciate you, towards a life where you are not begging for attention, but receiving it naturally because you have built yourself into someone worthy of respect. And let me make this very clear. Redirecting your energy is not about giving up on women altogether. It is about filtering. It is about choosing to invest only in those who invest in you. It is about realizing that your time, your energy, your presence are valuable currencies, and you cannot afford to spend them recklessly. The more you waste them on someone who does not care, the less you have for yourself and for the people who truly matter. So if she never texts you first, let that be the wake-up call. Not to chase harder, not to beg, but to stop and ask yourself, what would happen if I took all this energy and poured it back into me? Because when you do that, you stop being the man who waits. You become the man who builds, the man who grows, the man who leads. And in that transformation, you'll realize something profound. The right woman will never let you carry it all alone. She will meet you where you are. She will choose you the way you choose her. If she never texts you first, stop looking at your phone for the answer. The answer is in the mirror. Redirect your energy, reclaim your power, and remember this: anyone who cannot even reach out to you is not someone you should be reaching for.